in his workshop.
A workshop is where things are made. They are shaped according to a vision, to a plan. A workshop is also where broken things are restored. They are transformed, put back together. They're made useful and beautiful again. Jesus is the master craftsman. He invites us into his workshop. Here, Jesus wields his tools with expert skill, working in us. He shapes us into the people he designed us to be. He repairs our broken places. He restores his image in us. And he prepares us for the unique mission that is ours alone to fulfill. We must enter his workshop and allow him to work in us, and we must participate. Only then can we be transformed from the inside out. This is what In His Workshop is all about.
As a carpenter, Jesus shaped wood into useful or beautiful things. He also could have restored broken or damaged items to their original shape and purpose.
He continues his restoration work today. Last week, we talked about how Jesus works to restore God's image in us. That means that we have an identity, we have a purpose, and we have a mission.
Our identity is that we are God's children. Our purpose can be summed up in our Apprentice's Creed, to love God and to love others. Those are aspects of God's image we all share. What about our mission, though?
Our mission is unique to each of us. Discovering it is a lifelong process of God-led personal development and transformation.
So there's something or someone that God intends for us to impact positively. Obviously, we still have the choice to work with them, but his intention is still there.
Yes, he's hoping that we will join hands with him so that specific issue or person can be addressed. And he is preparing us for it.
He invites us to cooperate with him so we can ultimately do what he's prepared us to do.
Precisely.
This is all great, but maybe it's a bit intangible. Could you give me an example of how this looks like in real life?
Well, one example is David. He was a shepherd of his father's sheep, and maybe he thought that that's all he would do. But then he comes to the battlefield and he hears Goliath insulting God. How dare this Philistine speak against the one true God? And then David had that aha moment. Like, hey, perhaps killing that lion and the bear was training for a bigger enemy like a giant. Experiencing God's strength and protection in those times gave David the confidence he needed to meet Goliath on the battlefield. He gets in front of Goliath and lets everyone know what he's doing there. So the world will know today there is a God in Israel. It is one of his legacies, isn't it? And we can trace how God prepared him for it.
That's a great example. In those pastures, David communed with God. His zeal for God grew. His strength and courage grew as he protected the sheep. And then we see all of that coming together when he faced off with Goliath.
Exactly.
God has prepared for us a life that counts, that leads somewhere. And with God, it leads to an ultimate contribution to the kingdom. What we do with our lives matters to God and carries eternal weight. Making a contribution to the kingdom sounds impressive, but I'm not a David. Does it only count if it's something on that kind of scale? What might a contribution to the kingdom of God look like?
I hear you. I think many of us feel like if we are not a David, then we don't count. But that's not true. Here's what a kingdom contribution could look like. living a godly life in all spheres of influence, whether at home, at work, or in the community. A godly life sets a standard that inspires and challenges others. It has immense impact, even if it is subtle. Of course, a kingdom contribution could look like bringing people to Jesus for the first time or helping believers develop in their walk with God. It could also be igniting some change that makes the world a better place. Some other possible kingdom contributions could look like founding or improving an organization, an institution, or a movement that God can channel His work through. It can also be the discovery of ideas or a deeper understanding of truth. It could be communicating these discoveries or promoting them so that they can further God's work.
Wow, it's a lot more diverse than I expected. There's so much room for each of us to contribute. But Douglas, can we know what our ultimate contribution will be?
There are practical steps we can take now to move towards understanding His purpose for us. For starters, we can take stock of our gifts, skills, life experience, and contributions we have already made. After looking at these puzzle pieces, a picture should begin to form. This exercise helps us identify what mission God may have for us.
I imagine we should then bring these puzzle pieces and picture to God.
Absolutely.
We can ask God to confirm or correct what we're seeing, but we can't come with preconceived notions and ask Him to sign the dotted lines.
No, we must remain open to His guidance. Once we have received God's confirmation of our mission, or at least a direction to head into, it helps to study others who are on the similar journey, who bring similar puzzle pieces to the table.
That way, we can learn from those who have experience, not to copy or to compare, simply to learn. So, we looked at our unique puzzle pieces. We brought them to God. We've got confirmation of a direction, and we're learning from others. These are all very practical steps. Is there anything else?
Well, now comes our choice. We can choose activities that call upon our unique puzzle pieces. We can choose to live with purpose for the kingdom rather than simply drifting. God is so good. He has planned so much goodness for us. When we join Him in His workshop, we will have a life that counts.
I can't wait to get more into these points. Until then, we'll leave you with these key questions. What is God doing in my life? Do I have the courage to be a part of His work? Am I truly willing to join Him in His work of redemption in my life and all around me?